China just showed footage of a stealth fighter launching from an aircraft carrier. Not a rumor, not a render. A real jet, on a real deck, thrown into the sky by electromagnetic catapults. And if that doesn't sound like a big deal, it's because you haven't connected what it means for air superiority at sea. For decades, the US Navy owned something close to a monopoly modern, high-tempo carrier air power. China is now building the pieces to challenge that, and the J-35 is one of the most important pieces on the board. In this video, we're breaking down China's secret new carrier-based stealth fighter, why it's a major step in military modernization, and why China claims it could dominate the future of air combat. Yes, the title is clickbait, but the capability shift is real. Before we dive in, small favor, over 98% of you watch without subscribing. So if you want more breakdowns like this, hit subscribe. And if you believe air superiority still decides the future of nations, type proud in the comments. Now let's talk about what the J-35 really is, and why its real power isn't just the jet. It's what comes with it. The black box fighter. Here's the first truth. The J-35 is a black box. China reveals very little about stealth aircraft performance. You get shape, you get occasional footage. You don't get the real numbers, and that's exactly why the secret label works. Because China doesn't need to publish the radar cross-section. It only needs to show enough to force everyone else to take it seriously. And over the last 2 years, China has shown a lot. In November 2024, the J-35A, its land-based cousin, was unveiled at the Zhuhai Air Show. It's smaller than China's heavy J-20, and it looks very F-35-like in overall layout. And in September 2025, China released images and video of catapult launches and recoveries from its newest aircraft carrier, Fujian Carrier, including the J-35 and the KJ-600 airborne early warning aircraft. That's not just PR, that's a message. But this story didn't start in 2024. It started more than a decade ago. Segment 1, the long game, from FC-31 to J-35. Back in 2012, China flew a twin-engine stealth demonstrator most people remember as the Afkisum Seabead. At the time, it looked like an F-35 style project. Then it went quiet. Not dead, not cancelled, just quiet. Fast forward to October 2021. A more mature, navalized version was flying, what analysts began calling the J-35. By November 2024, China officially rolled out the J-35A at Zhuhai, describing it as a medium-sized, multi-purpose stealth fighter built to seize and maintain air supremacy. And that phrase matters, because air supremacy isn't one mission. It's the ability to keep coming back, while the other side can't. But the first real wow factor is this. The jet itself is only half the story. The carrier is the other half. Segment 2. The Fujian factor. Why this changes everything. If you want to understand why the J-35 matters, don't look at the fighter first. Look at the deck. China's first 2 operational carriers, Liaoning and Shandong, use ski jumps. That limits what they can launch and how far. Fujian is different. It's the first Chinese carrier built for catapult operations. It's roughly 80,000 tons, and unlike the ski jump ships, it can launch heavier aircraft with more fuel and payload. But the headline is the catapult tech. Fujian uses electromagnetic catapults, EMALS. That's a capability the US pioneered on the Ford class. And it matters because catapults don't just launch fighters. They launch the support aircraft that make a carrier truly lethal: airborne early warning tankers, electronic warfare, and eventually, drones. In September 2025, China published footage of catapult launches and recoveries from Fujian, showing J-35 fighters, J-15T fighters, and the KJ-600 operating at sea. That's the moment Fujian stops being a big ship and starts becoming an air power system. Quick check. If you're still with me, type J-35 in the comments. Because the next cliffhanger is the one most people ignore. Stealth on land is hard. Stealth at sea is brutal. Segment 3. Stealth plus saltwater, the most brutal test environment. Stealth jets are sensitive. Carriers are merciless. Salt air, humidity, vibration, hard landings, cramped deck space, constant maintenance, pressure. If you can keep a stealth fighter stealthy in that environment, you're doing something very few nations can do. And if the plan can field a real carrier-based stealth fighter, it changes naval warfare geometry. Because a stealth fighter on a carrier isn't just a fighter, It's a moving stealth bubble. Less warning time, less reliable tracking, more uncertainty for the defender. But stealth is only step one. The real advantage comes from who can see first and decide first. Which brings us to the aircraft that makes the J-35 far more dangerous than it looks alone. Segment 4. The KJ-600, China's E-2 moment. Everyone stares at fighters. But what makes a carrier strike group terrifying is the eye in the sky. For the US Navy, that's the E-2 Hawkeye. For China, it's the KJ-600. And KJ-600 only truly makes sense on a catapult carrier because you're launching a heavier, higher-end support aircraft. Here's why this matters. Stealth fighters don't want to blast radar all day. Every emission is a clue. So you use the KJ-600 to extend detection, manage the air picture, and feed targeting data. If China can routinely launch stealth fighters and airborne early warning from the same deck, you're looking at the skeleton of a modern carrier air wing. Now here's where the dominate claim starts to take shape. Because China doesn't just want the J-35 to dogfight, it wants it to plug into a kill chain. Segment 5. The kill chain. Claim, a stealth battle manager. Chinese aviation figures have described the J-35A's role as supporting kill chains, locking targets, sharing positions with other weapon systems, and helping bring them down. Translation? The jet is designed to be a node, a connector, a battle manager in the sky. That's how modern air combat works. Sensor finds you, network shares you, shooter launches. Another sensor updates the missile. The target never even knows who fired. If a stealth fighter is part of that system, it becomes harder to target and harder to disrupt. Now imagine a J-35 near a carrier group, feeding data to ship-based missiles, coordinating with other aircraft, and shaping the fight without ever being clearly seen. That's not just air superiority. That's air superiority tied into sea control. But dominance isn't marketing. Dominance comes from weapons. Segment 6. The weapons. Question. First shot advantage. We don't have a public official loadout chart for the J-35, but we do know what stealth fighters are built around. Internal bays, internal missiles, internal strike weapons. Because the moment you hang weapons outside, your stealth drops fast. China has invested heavily in long-range air-to-air missiles like the PL-15. If a stealth fighter can carry long-range missiles internally with good targeting data, you get the modern nightmare. You're being engaged before you even know you're being tracked. And at sea, that gets catastrophic quickly. Because the aircraft you lose first often decides whether your ships survive. But here's the part most people miss. China doesn't need the J-35 to be perfect. It needs the J-35 to exist in numbers. Segment 7. Scale, the most underrated weapon. China already fields a large stealth fleet. Reuters has estimated around 200 J-20s are operational. And in 2025, imagery and reporting suggested the J-35 was moving toward limited rate production, with multiple airframes appearing closer to a production standard. Scale matters because it changes tempo. More sorties, more pressure, more chances to get a clean shot. Mass forces the other side to spend missiles, fuel, and time just to keep up. Even the best defense system gets exhausted. And if China can field stealth fighters on carriers and on land, you get overlapping coverage, like a web. Now we have to do what this channel always does. We have to talk about the limits, because the J-35 is impressive, but it's not magic. Segment 8, the two big limits, engines and experience. Limit number 1, engines. China has struggled historically with high-performance turbofan development. Analysts have repeatedly noted that the engine is always the big question on advanced fighters. And that matters because engines decide range, reliability, and sortie generation. On a carrier, reliability isn't optional. Limit number 2, experience. The US Navy has been doing global carrier aviation for generations. Deck ops, high-tempo cycles, long logistics chains, complex blue water procedures. That institutional muscle takes decades. China is learning fast, no question. But learning fast isn't the same as being fully mature. So can the J-35 completely dominate the next air war? Not on its own. But that's the wrong question. The right question is, does it change the problem set for everyone else? And the answer is yes. The big takeaway. It's not just a jet, it's a system. The J-35 is China's attempt to put stealth air power at sea, to pair a stealth fighter with a catapult carrier and airborne early warning, to build a networked kill chain that's harder to see, harder to disrupt, and harder to stop. Even if we don't know its true signature, even if we don't know its true performance, the strategic direction is unmistakable. China is closing gaps that used to feel permanent. And that's why this matters. Not because it guarantees dominance, but because it shows intent. And intent plus industrial capacity is never something you ignore. Recap. Why the J-35 is a big deal. Remember this. J-35 is China's path to a carrier-based stealth fighter. Fujian's EMALS catapults enable a modern carrier air wing. KJ-600 is the eye in the sky that makes stealth fighters far more lethal. China wants these jets to act as kill chain nodes, not just dogfighters. Internal weapons and networking create first-shot pressure. Scale is the multiplier. Engines and experience are the biggest unknowns. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think the J-35 is a true peer to the F-35C? Or is it a stealth-shaped message designed to intimidate more than it fights? Drop your take in the comments. And if you want more deep dives on the aircraft shaping the next era of air combat, hit like, subscribe, and join our community. Because the next air war won't be decided by who has the loudest claims. It'll be decided by who can build the most complete system and keep it flying when it actually matters. Until next time, stay sharp. Peace comes from strength.